All right, so this section is again review stuff. You've done it all in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So I don't have a ton of examples. We're just kind of doing enough to refresh our memory, but if you need more, tell me, and I can throw another one up here. So if there's something we've forgotten, just tell me we need a little more time with that. So when we're talking about equations of lines, we really have three different forms that we might see it in. The first one we were talking about on Thursday and Friday when we were talking about graphing our lines, y equals mx plus b. We know in that, what does m represent? Slope. What is b? The y-intercept. Okay, so we've seen that one. Point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So what does m still represent? Slope. What's x1, y1? Well, what's the name of this formula? Point slope. So what do you think x1, y1 is? It's the x1, y1 is a point on the line. Okay, x and y are just going to stay x and y. Those are the variables in our equation. So we use this one when we are given a point. And I believe that's the one that Mrs. Keller uses the most when you guys were writing equations. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the final one is probably everyone's least favorite. We don't use it all that often, and when we have it, we usually rewrite the problem. But that is standard form. Ax plus by equals c. In that form, the a, bless you, has to be a positive number. A, B, and C have no common factors, and they are all integers, so no decimals or fractions. But usually, if it's in standard form, we immediately rewrite our problem. I will not give you any of these formulas. These are ones that we've used enough and you've used enough in the past that I would just expect you guys to know. All right, so let's try some examples. And like I said, if we need more on anything, I can give you more. Find the slope-intercept form of the line passing through the points 1, 7, and 3, 3. What's the first thing we have to do to write this equation? Okay, so get our slope. And we talked about that Friday. So this is like our x1, y1, x2, y2. So our slope would be 3 minus 7 over 3 minus 1. So we get negative 4 over 2, which is just negative 2. All right, then if I'm going to use point slope form, I need a point and I need a slope. I have my slope. Does it matter which of my 2 points I use? No, so you pick one. So let's say I decided I was going to use the first one. So our formula, y minus y1, which was 7, equals m times x minus x1, which was our 1. So if we distribute that over the 7, so y equals negative 2x plus 9, and that is y equals mx plus b form. Is that one okay? time I'm giving you a list of points found on the line. How many points do we need to write the equation? Just 2. Does it matter which 2 order pairs we take from this list? Not a bit. So pick your favorite 2. Which ones do you want me to use? 3, 5, and 2, 3. Okay, we'll just go with the first 2. So first we need our slope. Why don't you guys finish it from here? Find your slope and write your equation. So we're going to write an equation. We need to point in the slope. So we need the slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we get 2 over 1 or 2. Now we take one of our points and our slope, and we plug into our point slope formula. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Distribute. If we add our 3 over, we get y equals 2x minus 1. Saw a couple people with a plus 1, so just make sure you're being careful of your signs. Okay, do you guys remember doing this stuff? Do we need more problems if I'm giving you 2 points? So find your slope, take one of your points and plug into your formula. Let's try this one. If you're still writing down, throw that. So I want the equation line with a slope of 1/4 going through the point -2, 1 in standard form. Right, so what is standard form? Ax plus by equals c. Can you ever just jump right into standard form? No. What we have to do is first write it in slope-intercept form, and then we will move the equation around to put it in standard form. So we know, this time I gave you your slope. This is like our x1, y1. So if I wrote it in slope-intercept form, y minus y1 equals m, 1/4, times x minus -2 would become x plus 2. Alright, so if we distribute y minus 1 equals 1/4 x plus 1/4 times 2 is 1/2. If we add over our 1, we get 1/4 x plus 3/2. All right, now if I want this in standard form, what does standard form tell me? Ax plus by equals c. So I need x and y on the same side. So let's start out just subtracting over the 1/4 x. All right, they're not like terms, we can't actually combine them. We want ax, so we need the x to be first. We have an a of 1/4 x plus y equals 3/2. So this looks closer. But look back up at the beginning. When I told you about standard form, I said a has to be what kind of number? Positive. So to fix that, we would have to take everything times a negative. I also said that there's no fractions. So what would I have to multiply by to get rid of this? Times a 4. Would that cancel both of my fractions? Yeah. So if I take everything times -4, -4 times -1/4 is a positive 1. -4 times 1 is -4y. -4 times 3/2 is -6. So now ax plus by equals c. There's no fractions or decimals. My a is positive. We don't have any greatest common factors. There's nothing I can divide all these by. So that is my final answer. So if I say standard form, you just have to rewrite it at the end. Any questions there? Let's do a review problem. Take a second. This is from last week. Everybody. So if you're going to graph it, what form is this currently written in? Standard. What would we want to do? So if we subtract our 3x, and we just have a 2y equals -3x plus 6, or if you wrote 6 minus 3x, that's fine. Divide everything by 2. So -3/2 x plus 3. So remember from last week, you start at your y-intercept, which is +3. It's where you hit the y-axis. Then we do our slope, -3/2 down 3/2. Then we have 2 points, so we draw the line between them. And make sure for your quiz that you are extending it. Don't just draw me a little segment between those 2 points. It keeps going. As a refresher, if it's just y equals a number, what kind of line is it? Horizontal. What's the slope of a horizontal line? 0. If it's x equals a number, what kind of line is it? Vertical. What's the slope of a vertical? Undefined. So you might have a couple of those show up on your quiz tomorrow. Graphing those horizontal and vertical lines. We've also, another review thing, talked about x and y intercepts. How do you find an x-intercept? So x-intercept is asking me, where does this thing hit the x-axis? So to find this, if you're on the x-axis, then y equals 0. We divide by 4, x is 3. If I asked for it as an ordered pair, what would that ordered pair be? 3, 0. The x is 3, the y is 0. So if I ask you to graph, you're just putting that point. Y-intercept is where we hit the y-axis. If we are on the y-axis, then what is true? X equals 0. So if we divide, we get y to be 4. What is that ordered pair? And then you have 2 points, so you can try your way. Any questions on those problems? Remember how to draw our graphs from last week? Last thing I want to talk about is parallel and perpendicular. What does it mean for lines to be parallel?
Side by side, never cross.
Right. If they never cross, what's that tell me about their slopes? They're the same. Perpendicular, what does that mean? So parallels, the same. Perpendicular, they make a 90-degree angle. And that happens if their slopes are opposite reciprocals. Remember, that's when you flip one and change the sign. So parallel, same slope. Perpendicular, they are total opposites. Opposite reciprocals. for the equation of the line going through the point 3, 5 and parallel to the line 2x plus 5y equals 4. So if they're going to be parallel, what's that tell me? Same slope. We know to write the equation of a line, we need our point and our slope. So we need to get the slope of this. It's written in standard form. To find my slope, I have to rewrite it. So if we subtract over our 2x, then we have 5y equals negative 2x plus 4. Divide by 5. So negative 2/5 x plus 4/5. But all I really need from this is, what's my slope? And since we are parallel, that means I'm using this slope. And then we have our point 3, 5. So now we plug into our formula. Y minus y1 equals our m, negative 2/5, times x minus x1. So if we distribute, negative 2/5 times negative 3 is a positive 6/5. Add over your 5. So we get negative 2/5 x plus 31 over 5. Alright, so parallel and perpendicular, you have that extra little step at the beginning to figure out the slope. If I had said perpendicular, what slope would we have used? Positive 5 over 2. Flip it and change your sign. Alright, you guys do that. So the exact same point and slope, or equation, never mind, I changed it. So I give you a point in the equation. This time I want you to write the perpendicular. Alright, so first we need our slope. So we have to subtract our 3x. So negative 5y equals negative 3x plus 6. Divide everything by negative 5. Negative 3 over negative 5 is a positive 3/5. 6 divided by negative 5 is just a negative 6/5. But all I need this for is the slope. The slope of this line is 3/5. So if I want perpendicular, what slope am I using? Negative 5/3. And I have my point. So now we plug into our equation. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus negative 4. Y minus 7 equals negative 5/3 x. You distribute minus 20 over 3. Add the 7. So we have negative 5/3 x plus 1/3 for our final answer. Alright, I need everybody to listen to me for a minute. Are there any questions over this stuff, first of all? I'm trying to give us some time in class to work on homework because I know some people remember this and they're good, and some people have forgotten some things. So I want to give you time in class to work. So if you have forgotten some stuff, you have time to ask questions. You have, if you did not finish last week's homework, make sure you get that done. That's due at 3 p.m. today, and there's still a chunk of you that have not finished that. Today is another Math Excel. Okay, even if you are gone tomorrow, it is due at 3. So even if you're on the trip, you have the same deadline because you're here right now, and I think we can do that. That's reasonable. We have a quiz tomorrow over sections 1.1 through 1.4. That's all the things we mentioned at the beginning of class. distance, midpoint, Pythagorean theorem. I will give you the distance and midpoint formulas, but I expect you to know Pythagorean theorem. That's a pretty short one. What is it? Right, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I will give you distance and midpoint. That's the only formulas I'm giving you. So I will probably do a couple review problems at the beginning of class tomorrow before we take that quiz. I will record it and post the video for anybody that is gone. If you are gone, you need to set up that time with me when you're going to make up your quiz. You're welcome to do it right now if you really feel ready and want to get it over with. Otherwise, advisory for after school if you have another hour, but I would like it done either today or Thursday.